The U.S. government's border security buildup has been going on for 18 years now, affecting not only the Latino community, which has had to deal with the separation of families, the criminalization of communities, and with racial profiling, but it has also affected Native American border communities. We spoke to Ofelia Rivas, a Tohono O'odham elder who lives in the area of Ajo, Arizona.
The powers that be, the governments can and will just waiver any rights that we have to do what they want to do, which is build a vehicle barrier, build the wall, and build the integrated fixed towers on O'odham lands and sacred lands that we have.
To complement the border wall, the federal government has gradually constructed an entire system of ultra-vigilance with different kinds of mobile sensors, cameras, radar units, microwave systems, surveillance drones, and an integrated fixed tower surveillance network, or ITF, patrolling the border region around the clock and feeding information to a control center. By using mobile high-definition cameras, sensors, and radar stations, the system can detect and track movement from many places simultaneously, giving its control room the ability to guide many ground teams and at the same time to use a host of technological resources and special cameras to track many subjects at the same time.
When the Border Patrol proposed these towers, they were calling them originally communication towers. Oh, we can't communicate with each other, so we're going to put these towers up. And originally they were 200 feet tall. And because of the airplane regulations, they reduced them to 180 feet tall. 180 feet tall, and they proposed 15 towers on the Tohono O'odham Nation.
Elbit Systems is installing the surveillance system on O'odham land. The Israeli company was awarded a $145 million contract to construct 53 ITF towers in Arizona's southern border in 2014. According to the Jerusalem Times, it will be able to detect a single walking average-sized adult at a range of 5 miles to 7.5 miles during day or night while sending close to real-time video footage back to agents manning a command post. Popular Mechanics describes the system's accuracy. Elbit Systems is so specific that it can determine whether an individual is carrying a backpack or a long-arm weapon. In Ajo, Arizona, we spoke to a group of Native community activists and inhabitants of the border area. According to most of them, this net of intensive surveillance has radically changed their lives in many ways.
When I was born and raised here, we used to jump in my grandfather's truck. A bunch of other kids, we'd go down to Sonoita. And it was no big deal crossing the border. You know, it was like normal stuff. It's like family, you know, everybody knows each other. And we had family down there. And we go down there, do shopping, you know, or go visit family or get haircuts. And that was normal business to us. And there might have been 2 agents at the time when all this was happening. And they knew the locals, you know, so it was never a big problem.
Everything changed after 9/11. The border became a national security issue with all the might of the federal government behind it.
After 9/11, we saw the increase of checkpoints, and we cannot enter or leave our lands without going through a checkpoint and being questioned on who we are and where we're from. And it's ironic because a lot of the people doing the questioning are outsiders to our homeland, and yet the people that are originally from there are often harassed and questioned the most.
Since 9/11, there's been a great difference, very aggressive and attacking people to the point of, injuring people and killing people. I spoke in my language, so he pulled his pistol and he put it at my head in front of my daughter and my grandson and said that I would have to say whether I was a U.S. citizen or a Mexican citizen. And I said I was a Tohono O'odham Nation member.
There have been many reported instances of violence that the Border Patrol has committed, including the running over of an O'odham Nation tribal member. This, along with constant surveillance, has damaged a historically cordial relationship between members of the O'odham Nation and the Border Patrol.
The international border that impacts our people are impacted by the policies, the immigration policies. We're not immigrant ourselves. You know, in our oral history, we've been here since the beginning of time. But these policies have been violating our cultural rights and our human rights.
The Border Patrol has installed sensors all over the border area and is patrolling it using surveillance drones. Some locals told us that they were followed when they were taking a walk with their dog. They also pointed out that they were required to carry their identification papers constantly to avoid being detained or even deported. The ITFs are just one of many surveillance tools that the Border Patrol uses. There are also remote video surveillance systems, mobile unattended ground sensors, unattended ground radars, mobile vehicle surveillance systems, agent portable surveillance systems, surveillance drones, planes, helicopters, and even high-tech surveillance blimps. All of these systems can work to form a virtual fence which, even if you manage to cross the wall that is being built in the area, would make it practically impossible to cross undetected. Many of these integrated systems can also record all the information in its coverage area, process it, identify subjects, and retroactively review where they have been and who they have been with. According to a written assessment directed to Congress by the Department of Homeland Security, wide area persistent surveillance camera systems have the ability to surveil a specific region in order to increase the opportunity to detect and observe activities, identify entities involved, and track events followed in real time or backwards forensically. Speaking to the Real News Network, Bill Parrish, a reporter who wrote a story about the O'odham Nation and the Border Patrol for The Intercept, describes how this virtual wall affects border towns and neighbors.
But some are located right next to residential areas. So, basically anything that anyone is doing living in those areas is going to be captured by these integrated fixed towers, which pipe images and other data back to Border Patrol command centers in southern Arizona. And they have a back in time feature, sort of like a TiVo meets Google Earth kind of feature where, basically all the images and data are stored and can be pulled up across time so that Border Patrol agents are able to monitor people's movements over time, which is essentially what persistent surveillance means.
During the production of last week's report about the new border wall and the local ecosystem, a Real News team visited Quito Blanco Springs for several hours. We filmed right next to the border, but until we got to a checkpoint, we weren't approached or searched. It is very probable that the agents in charge of the surveillance system in the area, who were notified of our presence beforehand, knew exactly what we did, with whom, and where. This kind of omnipresence entails great power over the populations it covers. As a result, it presents many questions, especially if the government expands its use. Bill Parrish, writing for The Intercept, quotes Bobby Brown from Border Protection at Elbit Systems as saying, "Over time, we'll expand not only to the northern border, but to ports and harbors across the country." Despite numerous voices of opposition within the O'odham Nation, a March 22, 2019 meeting of the Tohono O'odham Council approved the construction of the towers as a sign of support for Border Patrol, the war on drugs, and, as reported by the LA Times, in the hope the wall would not be constructed in certain areas. This hope, however, seems misplaced, since the wall is scheduled to cover all of Arizona's southern border. Rivas believes that something larger might also be at play. She describes a worldwide trend of taking native land and displacing native nations as a very real danger for the Tohono O'odham people.
They continue to funnel the people through there. Maybe it's because they want the land of the Tohono O'odham Nation. Trump did say that they were going to privatize all Indian lands.
Adrian Vega, also of O'odham Nation, born in Ajo, told us that there's a consistent rumor about eminent domain.
That's always a question with the native lands in America, as we know, is because the government feels they gave it to them, they probably feel they can take it back. And that's a huge concern in native nations.
Rivas finds the current situation of Central American immigrants to be similar to the infamous boarding system, which the U.S. government imposed on native communities all over North America.
If I don't listen to the news because of that, of the children dying in the prisons, or the women getting raped, or all this displacement of families, and it reminds me of the boarding school system. My aunt, who was probably 12, got removed from the home and got sent to New Mexico early on when boarding school happened. I was taken to Nevada for boarding school, so that we understand that, and we can that's all we can do is send our prayers, because we know how the system works and what has happened to indigenous people here of this land.
Stay tuned with the Real News Network for more on this issue.